Your body cams will be transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
We want to take a deep dive into your dystopian future under the digital surveillance state. It's right here. This little board here tells you how many times people have come through the park. Essentially, it tells you how many unconnected Wi-Fi devices there are in. So that would be everyone's phone. Imagine a lockdown scenario, another emergency, another COVID outbreak, or monkeypox, or whatever you like. You name it, we'll make it up. 6 devices in this park at the moment. That's down 50% for normal. Your local government, your state government, your federal government might want it to be none. And this will tell you these sensors up in this light, the Wi-Fi connections, they're all interlocked. There will be facial recognition cameras in there. So, don't think you're just going to leave your phone at home. The cameras will pick you up.
Leo Hu recently tried to book a flight. He was told he was banned from flying because he's on the list of untrustworthy people. Leo is a journalist who was ordered by a court to apologize for a series of tweets he wrote and was then told his apology was insincere. I can't buy property. My child can't go to private school, he says. You feel you're being controlled by the list all the time. And the list is now getting longer, as every Chinese citizen is being assigned a social credit score, a fluctuating rating based on a range of behaviors. It's believed that community service and buying Chinese-made products can raise your score. Fraud, tax evasion, and smoking in non-smoking areas can drop it. China's growing network of surveillance cameras makes all of this possible. Xu Li is the CEO of SenseTime, one of China's most successful artificial intelligence companies. It has created smart cameras for the government that can help catch criminals, but also track average citizens.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Monday, March 16th, 2026. We're going out of the matrix into prime reality. That is the mantra here. Thanks for joining us, everyone, everywhere in the world. Thank you, Raymond, our wonderful moderator. Christine can't be with us today. Let's dive right into it. We've talked a lot about Agenda 2030 over the last years and even decades. And, I sincerely thought earlier in this decade we would have until 2030. I really thought we were going to have till the end of the decade. I don't believe that any longer. I think everything is accelerated very, very much. And I think we might be looking at next year for, let's just say, mass implementation of certain things. So the main infrastructure of this Agenda 2030, I'll put it very quickly. It's very simple. Digital ID, digital currency, hence cashless society. And that's pretty much large scale all you need to have a total absolute control system. The infrastructure, in my estimation, has been built. I don't think it needs to be built. It has been built. So I think we're already past that point. Sure, they're going to add things, but for the most part, I think it has been built. And the geopolitical and economic and resource-based decisions to make that happen in perpetuity have been made. Why I think that we might be closer is because I see the breakdown in society when it comes to energy, mental capacity, thought capacity. So, and we're going to dive deeper into this, but basically in order to bring in this new system, you need to make the population very tired. You need to overwhelm them. You need to absolutely dismantle their sense of reality, their sense of for truth and facts. And this is where we are for a lot of people. And I'm not just judging this based off of what I see on the internet, although there is a lot that shows us this, but I see it in real life, and I see it even among our very awakened community. People are exhausted. People are tired, even though they know they're just exhausted. And that's exactly what they aim to do, and not just by overstimulating us with media and all that, but also frequencies and everything else that's going on, weather manipulation, all that stuff. And so their agenda, with all the problems that they're having and with all the sort of stuff that we're throwing at them, is moving forward. Like I said, I would say that we will see the rollout of digital currencies even here by next year. I think 2027. But you know, there's a list of countries that's already doing it. So you have countries that are already operating a national digital ID system that are required for banking, for taxes, for healthcare, and government services, which already means those countries are already fully locked in. Estonia, India, Singapore, China, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, the UAE, Australia, New Zealand, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, and so forth. It might be that it is not by law yet required, but it is that it is already customary to use digital ID. CBDCs, meaning central bank digital currencies, have already been launched in the Bahamas, Nigeria, Jamaica, and several others that are already running them parallel and are mainly using them. China, India, Russia, Cambodia, Eastern, the UAE, and more than 130 countries, including the US, Canada, United Kingdom, European Union, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Brazil, South Africa, are preparing the launch of their digital currencies, albeit under different names. Most are using the common name central bank digital currencies. In America, that was outlawed, so it will be crypto or stablecoin, but it will be the same thing. And what all of these currencies have in common is not only that they're fully digital, not only that they won't include a cash equivalent any longer, so there will be no physical thing you can carry, they're also programmable. Programmable meaning that the use can be limited, what it can be used for, how long it is good for, meaning it can be an expiration date, what you can use it for, what you cannot use it for. And so this is, for all intents and purposes, how do I put this? This is a done deal. We've been screaming this from the rooftops for, impersonally, for 20 years. But you know, but on the internet and talking and researching, and for some reason, people believed that there were political movements and governments who somehow weren't included in these and that were actually rebellious against them. I hope everybody has now seen the entire system is completely owned and everybody is on board with it. What not everybody is on board with is who's going to be the leader of the show. I think that's what some of the turf wars are over. But the system has been decided on, the system is being implemented, and unfortunately faster than we hoped. 2030 was their goal, but they're doing it faster, like I said, with problems. But I want to play a mini documentary by a group or by a producer called Freedom Research, and it's like 8 or 9 minutes or something like that. That really paints a good picture as to how this works and what sort of we can expect to see. So here's that. Okay.
Every adult will need a new government-issued digital ID.
A digital ID.
Having all of your personal information stored in one place.
We will spare no effort to make Europe an AI continent.
To integrate you into this great reset.
So how soon could central bank digital currencies become a reality?
You know, we should be helping countries to develop a national digital infrastructure.
Imagine every purchase you make, every app you use, every place you visit, all contributing to a single digital profile, a personal digital identity. This way, many details of your life could be stored in a unified digital record. That profile might eventually connect with your bank, your doctor, your employer, government agencies, and even your car. This isn't science fiction. It's a vision that organizations like the World Economic Forum are advocating, and that governments and tech companies are gradually moving toward. The rollout of this digital ID infrastructure is truly global and coordinated. Oracle founder and billionaire Larry Ellison emphasizes the need to feed AI systems an immense amount of all available government data.
For what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
The first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. Basically, I have to tell the AI model as much about my country as I can. If you want to improve population health, you have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data.
The benefits are clear. Digital ID will make our interactions with each other and with the state faster, cheaper, and more reliable.
Stay with me. This isn't some distant future. Steps toward it are already underway.
Facial recognition can now spot suspects in real time from live video, tracking organized criminals at borders, in public spaces, even helping find missing people.
There are cameras on top of the van that scan everyone's faces as they walk past.
Tony Blair is a technocrat. He believes basically that the people at the top need to decide everything themselves. And if you could have total control over everybody, everything would be wonderful. This is the Chinese model.
Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison predicts AI surveillance will be part of our everyday lives in the future. Ellison said AI will soon play a major role in monitoring society through a vast network of interconnected cameras.
The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
But what it will do is create the digital control infrastructure, which then lays the groundwork for all your activities and all of your behavior to be managed by the government and for you to be rewarded or disincentivized in relation to certain behavior. That is the Chinese social credit system, where if you are a good citizen, quote unquote, you can do things that other people cannot do. And if you're a bad citizen, quote unquote, you can't even buy a train ticket to go to a different city. This is where it's going.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
To see this in action, look at China. Some pilot dystopian cities are evolving into highly monitored environments. Cameras track most of your movements, sensors follow patterns of behavior, and algorithms influence what people can buy, where they can travel, and even whom they interact with.
If you thought the way Facebook tracks you was scary, it's got nothing on the Chinese government. Chinese government insists it has a great reason for doing this.
Here, in this Shanghai surveillance center, no resident goes unwatched.
As a good citizen, I respect the rules of the road. If I didn't, I'd lose points on my social credit.
It forces us to be well-behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it, and anyway, we don't have a choice.
But people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
All of this is presented as serving the greater good, saving the environment, reducing crime, and creating a more efficient society. What does a fully connected surveillance state really look like? These pilot cities have an all-seeing system with virtually no escape. Faces have become keys to access buildings and services. There's nowhere to hide, as everything is monitored. Smartphones, smart cars, smart buildings, all interconnected. In such a system, it's almost impossible to break the rules without being noticed. Already, millions have experienced some form of restricted access, often dictated by algorithmic assessments.
This talk of centralized digital currency, that's what they have in China. If you fuck up in China and you get a bad social credit score because you tweeted something they didn't like, now you can't buy a plane ticket. Now you can't buy a car. Yeah. Now you can't get a loan. Now you can't do something. You step the fucking line and people self-censor.
While this is unfolding thousands of miles away, similar developments are emerging in the West. Digital identity programs, surveillance grids, real-time tracking, complex databases, and carbon footprint systems. This is an ever-growing concern, as many of these initiatives are gradually moving from pilot projects into real-world implementation.
We'll make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work.
Western countries are rapidly developing their own digital ID programs. The UK has announced a national digital ID scheme.
We need to be really clear. You must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work.
This technology has advanced amazingly.
To make the most of this new and revolutionary technology.
British people view this whole digital ID as an Orwellian nightmare.
Yeah, these motherfuckers are pushing digital ID on these people, and then they'll be able to control your movement and control you entirely.
This is your wake-up call. This is about building a centralized, state-controlled digital identity system that could be used, will be used, to link your finances, your medical history, your travel movements, your social media activity, even your social activity in real life, and more. It's quite frankly a digital dog tag, and once it's clipped around your neck, you will not be able to take it off.
Join the fight to defend our freedoms. Follow Freedom Research on X.
I have been often asked why we called this channel Inspired when we talk about things like these. And this is apparently not inspiring. I agree with you. This is not inspiring. The reason why our work is called Inspired is because we were and are and always will be inspired by the truth. Nothing is more empowering than truth. If you ignore aspects of the truth, then you are cutting yourself in the foot, so to speak, and you're cutting off some of that life force that you need. Not looking at this, not wanting to see this, or ignoring this is a true sickness of the human species. And I will, please stick with me because I want to make this very clear. Humans that are very much tied to their avatar identity are incredibly childlike naive. Incredibly naive. It is something, it is sort of a inverted form of innocence. It is what the mind virus, maybe the Wetiko virus does. It creates a sort of this naivete, and then they look at people that obviously not lie to them, and they want to believe the truth. They want to believe the good in them. They want to believe them, but it's so obvious, folks. It's so obvious. I can't even tell you how many folks in our own quote unquote more awakening communities are falling for one psyop or another that promises them that all of this, first it was promised it will never happen. Now that it is happening, it was promised to them that it's going to somehow be stopped. And now that it's so far progressed, they're telling them, no, it's all good. This is a good system. This is going to be a positive AI surveillance system. the amount of insanity that has to go into this for somebody to believe that. But I think it's hopelessness or overwhelmment or just good old naivete. And there is an antidote to this, because there is a reason why these systems are in place and why they're being implemented and why they're accelerating this agenda. And that is that a truly awakening being will never say yes to this. And under even under threat of severe consequences, not limited to, but including imprisonment or even death of the human body. And this is where the other, even bigger side of the inspired coin comes into play. What we have really been driven by is helping people to see the bridge that we need to cross to become and remember who we really are. Because, see, everybody who believes themselves to be a human being in flesh and bones and, your name, your age, your social security number, if that's who you are, you will go along with this because you'll be scared shitless and you'll go along. But if you believe yourself or know yourself to be infinite potential, infinite consciousness, part of creation, and where your life and your existence does not begin with this body and does not end with this body, you will more than likely not go along with this because you have nothing to fear ultimately, and you know that. So this is the paradox here, that the only way that this could possibly be averted or stopped or ended would be for enough people to live that greater self. And by doing that, this dystopian system, in one way or another, might really be stopped. Unless people do this, there's absolutely no straightforward way for this to be ended, because it is everywhere. People tell me all the time, what do you think? Where should we move? Is there a better country? No, there is no place. There's nowhere to go. It's everywhere. That's the whole point. The whole point is that it doesn't matter where you go. Why do you think they've been shooting up every single day thousands and thousands and thousands of low orbit satellites? It is a grid. They don't call it a grid for no reason. It's everywhere. And all of us, are already nodes on this grid, meaning it's already hacked into our systems. It's already hacked our biofields. It's already hacked our bodies. That's already happened. They just haven't closed the door yet, because not all the pieces are fully in place. But once they are, the door will be closed. And it will be infinitely more difficult, even on a physical level, to get into these deeper layers of awareness. That's, again, the whole point. Because when you see a fully self-actualized being, someone who truly is who they are, there are no real limits any longer. That person can never be controlled and never be put under anyone's thumb. But when we're diminished in our capacities, when we're diminished in our abilities to think, and boy, are people dumber than ever before. And I'm not talking about everyone, but a good majority is incredibly stupid. And I can't even blame them. I'm not saying they're at fault, but they are. They can't think the most basic fundamental thoughts. The most basic fundamental thoughts they can't think. And yet they can't make a different decision. That's already happened. The world at large and the majority of people, it's getting worse and worse and worse by the minute. However, on the other side, that other group of people that is is committed to this awakening process, and everything that it entails is getting better and better and better and better and better, exponentially so. Again, bifurcation. We talked about this often, but please don't make the mistake that you believe in some magical fairy tale where this dystopian AI nightmare system will simply disappear. It won't. It is anchored and rooted in this matrix here. However, that does not mean we have to participate in it. We have to be a part of it. And even on some level, it might mean we won't experience it in the same way as others, or maybe even not at all. This is where the theory of what some people call ascension, and I don't like all these words. They don't really mean much to me. But the idea that this elevated vibration, elevated levels of consciousness eventually don't connect with those lower levels of consciousness anymore. But even that requires some very hard and tough decisions on a human level. It ultimately means to say goodbye to those who were maybe loved ones in our lives, or friends, or family, or acquaintances. And now the distance is too far, the discrepancy is too big, and it doesn't connect any longer. I'm not saying that is a fact. I'm not saying that that is a theory that is out there, that this bifurcation will also be experienced in a way where some people call this, right, the new earth, or some people call it prime earth, maybe. And those things are, more than possibilities. However, nothing happens automatically. This is why this subject is so important to me. Nothing happens automatically, and nothing happens to you. You can't just be the passive receiver of this acceleration, of this ascension, of this. You are the raiser of your consciousness. You are the one who decides to say yes to one thing and no to everything else. You're the one who decides to say yes to freedom and sovereignty and full self-determination, and no to everything that is not that. Nobody can do that for you. Nobody can come out and save you from the limitations that you put on yourself. Nobody, including what you believe to be the Savior, Jesus Christ. Nobody can do that, because it would go against your free will. So you have to freely decide on that. And the window on free will is closing rapidly, as I've just said. So many people don't have it any longer. Or they don't have access to it any longer. They have lost the capacity to even comprehend what free will is. There is the only sense of urgency here is that I have been watching this. Honestly, in terms of timing, Christine and I believed in 2011, late 2011, we were at this point. That's honestly. So my sense for timing has become a lot better. I will tell you this, that in 2019, late 2019, I talked to Christina and said, we have a decade. The next decade is going to be the most intense decade ever. And we have our work cut out for us. And we're going to be here basically daily showing up, doing this work. And now I'm not sure we'll be able to make it through the whole decade. I don't know. We'll show up for as long as we can, but I'm not sure we can. Just saying, because the door will be closed, and voices like ours, sincere voices, truth voices, if you will not be allowed. Hence, look at the Chinese model, which, by the way, if you listened to your elected leaders, at one point or another, almost everyone has envied the leaders of China for their ability to just rule, and how wonderful that model is. I know on the record, Justin Trudeau has said it many times, Chinese model is great. Hence, that's why Canada is turning to China. Then I've heard the Austrian Chancellor, former Sebastian Kurz, talk about it. He said it too. And I distinctly remember one or two presidents here in the United States basically saying, well, isn't that nice? They just rule by decree. Yeah, no shit. Seems to be a template. So in my only intention, to wrap this up here, my only intention is and has been to take back full ownership over you, to not believe in the fairy tale of anyone out there working on your behalf for your freedom and your sovereignty. Yes, I am committed to that, but don't even count me into that camp, because you are unlimited in your true potential and you don't need to wait for anyone to give you permission for that. You simply don't. You've been hoodwinked into believing that. You've been hoodwinked into believing that you only get to have a say every 4 years. And then you hope that that say will mean something. And that is the human naivete. That is the mind virus that has given us this childlike thinking, where when things get too overwhelming, we just go in our cocoon and we pretend, nah, well, it's, somebody else is going to take care of it. Or a much better option, to step into that which we truly are. And from that true power that is within us and that we are a part of, now you are actually co-creating this freedom and this sovereignty. Now it is not hope, because hope's not a strategy. Hope's a last resort kind of thing. It's not a strategy. And now when you are in this knowing and the experience of who you truly are, from that place, absolutely anything is possible. But it's not externally projected onto you. You are projecting it outward, and external reality is mirrored as such back to you. This is where we stand. And the thing is, I see so often people taking one more step backward and going, okay, it's okay. I'll do this one thing. Maybe that, well, I need to go to the doctor. So, well, I'll put the digital ID on there just this once, or I'll comply with this, or I comply with that. And that's your choice. It's your prerogative. But just know, the deeper you step into it, the harder it is to get out of it. And the getting out of it part soon will become all but impossible, like I said, because the door will be closed. So the last thing, where so often people say, what is the solution? What is the solution? You told us what the problem is. What is the solution? And that too is this part of this childlike thinking, where now you have realized that one thing, one sort of group of people, be that a government, be that a leader, are not what you thought they were, and even reality isn't what you thought it was. Now you're looking to somebody else once again to tell you what to do. And this is why it's none of us who are in this community likes to say, I have the solution, because it isn't right, it isn't proper, and it enforces, or it perpetuates this kind of childlike thinking, where an adult, as an adult sovereign human being, you really shouldn't be asking other people for what the solution is. There's a fundamental problem in that. We can talk to each other. We can ask each other, what are your thoughts? Like, what have you been doing? What has helped you? What have you been finding? But to go and demand from another that they have a solution for you in your life, that's what children do. That's what children do, because they're not yet capable of doing that for themselves. And so they rely on their parents or elders to do things for them. But we're not children. You're not a child. And I'm not a child. And so we need to grow up and become the source of our own solutions. All we can do is help see each other see things clearly, and remind, and sometimes remind with more energy, but ultimately it's up to each and every one of us. And like I've said, even where communities are being built, which is wonderful because they are, there shouldn't be one person leading the charge, telling everybody else what to do, or setting it all up and somebody else just walks in it and sort of, I mean, people are looking for ready-made turnkey solutions where the garden is installed and the house is off the grid and everything's taken care of, and they can basically maintain the same level of comfort as they had before, and if possible, at no cost or very, very little cost. And that's just childlike thinking. It's naive. It's not how it works. It's about changing how we feel, how we think, what we think, and most importantly, remembering who we are. Naturally, every community should strive, and I think it's a moral imperative to take wonderful care of its youngest members and its oldest members, the youngest who cannot yet take care of themselves, and maybe the oldest who can't take care of themselves that well anymore, who just need certain assistance, or people who, for any other reason, can't take care of themselves. I agree with that 100%, that we need to help those. But other than that, folks, we need to be the source of our own solutions. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. You know, we love you. We appreciate you. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon. Your environment shapes everything, your thoughts, your health, your energy. But most people never question the invisible field they live in. We did, and that's when FLFE found us. It's not a product, it's a field of pure life force energy that lifts everything it touches. We now live in it 24/7, and we would love to invite you to experience it too. Start your free 15-day trial now. No pressure, no strings attached. Just the truth, resonance, and peace.